Mine was long. I will say mine's long, but I don't think you've seen Travis's phone.
I mean, it's sub 1,000 words, including the questions, and the questions have things to like clarify points.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Left Right Cab, a debate show that isn't really a debate show. More like a show that has friendly conversations about, I think I hit the mic, about politics, philosophy, current events, history, and pop culture. Travis taking a more left stance to the discussion, myself taking more of the right stance, and Jake running our audio and video, telling us why we're both wrong. And all that makes us parched. Thus, the cab part of the show name. We quench our thirst with some Cabernet Sauvignon and continue our discussion over wine, as all good discussions should be. I'm Tanner Hall.
I'm Travis Pajoli.
And I'm Jake Rudder.
And we welcome you to this episode of Left Right Cab. I'm going to let I gave a long intro last show, so I'm going to let Travis take the reins at this show. If you want to follow us, we have our 2 previous episodes up on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on our Twitter. Everything is just Left Right Cab. Just type that in. You'll find us.
Twitter handles, social media,
YouTube.
Twitch, YouTube.
Everything. Left Right Cab. You'll get there. Last episode was a lot on about, is society over-sexualizing children? Is it too, I guess it's the word liberal, but like, is it too much? Should we rein it in? So if you are interested in talking about that, we talked about cuties quite a bit. If you're interested in hearing our talk about that, please check out our last week's episode. This week's episode is called Blackstone because the Cabernet Sauvignon we are testing and trying out is from Blackstone. Or it's called Blackstone, I should say, not from Blackstone.
I think it may actually also be the name of the winemakers. So it's a 2016 California Cab Sauv. It is the Winemakers Select. Not too sure how selective they are. Typically, it's like the timing that it's pulled from the barrels, the grapes specifically were picked out to go and make it.
Okay.
Which I always find kind of funny because you would think winemakers are the ones selecting that stuff anyways.
Okay.
So
yeah, I selected this one. I brought this one this week. The back reads pretty good. Sounds good. It's skipping all the excess. It says the Cabernet Sauvignon shows vibrant blackberry and red cherry flavors with notes of cinnamon and toasted nuts.
All right, so after we taste this, we're going to do our rate-o-meter of where we're going to rate it, and then we're going to try and do Price is Right rules to see who's higher and lower in price because Jake brought this one today, as he said. So we're gonna see if we're good.
Right.
All right, here we go. Cheers to
Cheers.
all of you, and we hope you enjoy this episode. There we go, of Left Right Cab. You know, before doing this show, whenever I would have Cabernet Sauvignon at any event or any family gathering, whatever, they all tasted the same to me, or similar. Literally in 3 weeks of doing 3 different cabs, I can taste the literal distinct difference between all 3 of them. Whereas if you before this, they were like, oh, it's just cab, they all taste the same. Nope, they actually all have distinct flavors, and I'm kind of getting blown away by it by now.
So I've been drinking a lot more wine over the past year or so, and cab sauv are always sort of my go-to on it. And much to Tanner's point, everyone thinks they're very full-bodied, almost a little dry, coffee-esque sometimes. But I think the first week we had, it was hints of vanilla. It was pretty sweet.
That was mine. Thank you. My favorite.
Last week's was definitely the more of the black coffee sort of taste with cabs. This is a nice mid-range piece.
Very fruit forward.
Yeah, the cinnamon comes in.
Yes, that's why I couldn't think of what it was. It's cinnamon.
Yeah.
I like this.
This reminds me a bit of the wine that you and I had last night, Travis, flavor-wise, which I can't remember what that was. But
It was a Petit Syrah.
It's a Petit Syrah. It has something in common with a Petit Syrah in my mind, at least.
It reminds me of hints of Christmas. A little bit, as weird as it
The
is.
cinnamon part? Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it tastes like something I would drink at Christmas time at night before,
Definitely.
the night before opening gifts and the next morning kind of thing.
The
Definitely
cherry-
recommend Beaujolais for you then.
The
And
cherry-
Bourgeoisie. We don't
Indeed.
like that.
Embrace the proletariat. No, it's Beaujolais, I think, or Beaujolais. It's kind of like the New Year wine. Mm-hmm. And it definitely has that sort of cinnamon, little nutmeg kind of flavor to it. Just by the fact that I don't think the French had nutmeg, but I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Don't call us out on that.
Yeah.
So as far as fruit forward, I think I get the blackberry the most for sure. Do you get some cherry? But
I get cherry.
I get cherry on
Cherry.
that.
A lot of cherry. Definitely on the cherry.
another one.
Keep drinking. You'll taste the cherry eventually.
Yeah, it very much cherry and cinnamon. I think are the 2 things that come in. It's a very cinnamony finish without being spicy.
But it's got some of that blackberry bite to it. That's what I'm tasting, I think.
Are we allowed to show the label? Is
Why
there any
not?
weird show a
We're not
I mean, we're not
monetized.
monetizing stuff,
But
so
even if we were,
product placement for
Yeah,
free
exactly.
advertisement.
Send us money. We're doing monetize now.
Yes, give us monies.
we could put the wine rating in the description and stuff too. I don't know.
Fair.
That is true.
Our average of our 3 ratings.
Speaking of, should we go to the rating on
Yeah.
Oh, rating, good segue. Yeah, I knew you were right for this job.
it? Yeah, got a pretty decent timing.
I'm gonna give this a solid 7.5. It is. I like it. I would drink it again. I would buy it. Well, unless it's an $80 bottle, but
It's not an $80 bottle.
okay. It's only because it's. Haha, we got information. It's only because it kind of similar. It reminds me of the one I brought in because it's sweeter. It's definitely sweeter than the one.
This
we
is
brought.
less sweet than yours by a lot.
It's less
Yes,
sweet than mine,
significantly.
but I like that fruit forward.
I do too.
Yeah, I'm still getting a lot of cherry from this, and I do like cherry flavored things quite a bit.
GB. Epicure
So
Brewing.
I will actually give this probably the same score, 7.5. I don't know if I'd actively seek it out, but if I saw it on a table and people were like, "Oh, we've got some red for you," I would be happy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really controversial here and say about a 7.5.
Wow.
I was thinking that before either of you said that too, so it's kind of interesting that we kind of came to that
Yeah,
consensus.
I think I was definitely
This
7,
is-
diet 8.
I'd also like to point out how
This is the mid ground for us. Literally, this wine is the mid ground of our different tastes. I think.
we're so in tune with the same numbers that before this podcast started, Travis showed me his opening statement for our first segment of the show. And I was like, wow, it's a lot of words. And he's like, you also had a lot of words in your opening statement last week. And so we did a word count. And he has 1,027 words in his page. I said, ooh, I think I might be more. I opened up my page, 1,027 words. The exact same number that we typed up separately, weeks apart. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
And now here we are matching numbers on the cab.
All right, so
So witchcraft is ultimately the answer.
Yes. Oh, so we got to do price.
Name
price.
that
Price.
Price.
Name that price. If you get it exactly, you win both showcases.
This is a $15.99 wine.
Right in my ballpark. I'm gonna say $16.99.
And we're doing Prices Right rules?
Yes.
$14.99.
Oh my god!
Honestly, I was thinking, I'm like, this is definitely a like 16.
It's not a garbage.
15,
It's
16
definitely not a
wine.
garbage wine. It's not a $5 to $10 wine. You can tell that just from the depth of the flavor.
Am I
I'm gonna
technically
do that
am I
one of
technically
these.
right with tax?
Right, exactly.
I'm gonna do that one of these weeks. Show up with like $3 chuck and see how people feels.
This is a exquisite wine. $100 you spent on this, good sir.
I made it in my toilet.
I kind of had the same plan too, so we'll see who does it first.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna bring in the actual $300 bottle, and you're gonna be like, "This is trash. This is like a 2, guy."
Bring back that fucking toilet wine. A bottle of Mad Dog 2020. I don't think it comes in Cab Sauv. I think it comes in
does.
red.
It comes in, yeah, exactly,
Blackstone, good review, good
Yeah.
taste. That's good.
Solid through.
definitely.
Travis, to you. First topic of the show.
So, since, hopefully this becomes a trend moving forward, the topic I'm bringing to the table is based on some pretty disheartening news that we've received in between last show and this show, which is the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you've been living under a rock and you're unfamiliar with who she is, world-renowned litigator, Supreme Court Justice, acclaimed feminist, and eloquently and affectionately dubbed the notorious RBG.
I was just opening that image to put on the screen too.
There we go. Now, while she was a pioneer in the legal industry, before, quite literally, her corpse was cold, Donald Trump made the announcement that he's going to push through a nomination, or to nominate a candidate. And Mitch McConnell, who's the current Senate Majority Leader, stated that if a nominee came up, they would vote on it.
Okay.
Now, little backstory. In 2016, so during the last year of former President Obama's presidential term, Joe Kennedy, no, it was Antonin Scalia.
Scalia passed away.
Scalia passed away unexpectedly.
I would also like to point out that social media was equally as heartbroken and kind when Scalia died.
I also want to
Right?
Point out,
Not true.
I also want to point out that
No.
you got to give your entire intro without interruption.
Boom.
Oh.
Now, with the death of Antonin Scalia,
There's a fly in here, and we have to kill it.
we will kill it with fire. So, with the death of Antonin Scalia, President Obama pushed forward to nominate Merrick Garland. He's a federal judge. He's been on the federal bench for, I think, almost 15 years at this point. The position that the Senate Majority Leader stated, and I actually had a specific quote that he published in the Washington Post, and it was that, it was also co-penned by Chuck Grassley, who's a Republican senator from Iowa. He is the head of the Judiciary Committee. Now, in this op-ed piece, they stated that the nation has a unique opportunity to make an impact on the court by filling it along with the timeline of voting for a new president. They did not wish, or specifically Democrats, would rather the Senate simply push through a nominee for another lifetime appointment by a president on his way out the door. Given that, the American people, it was an election year, that the American population was in the midst of a voting process, they felt that it was absolutely paramount to have the incoming president put forward the nomination. Little background, again, that belief is what's known as the Thurmond Rule. It's a myth. It isn't a codified law. It's not an actual piece of legislation, but what it is a practice in which at some point in the year before an election, the Senate will not engage in any nomination hearings. So if a cabinet position opens or a Supreme Court vacancy, a federal judgeship, if a position opens that requires a nominee, with few exceptions, the Senate will not rule on it. Now, that was the position that Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley stated. Some numbers with that. Antonin Scalia died February 13th, 2016. Ruth Bader Ginsburg recently passed September 18th. Scalia died 270 days before the election. There were 47 days between Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death and the election. I do want to also keep in mind North Carolina, as well as several other states in the Mid-Atlantic, have already begun voting. For individuals who have provided their mail-in ballots, I received mine last week. And I'm absolutely going to vote in person too and commit voting fraud. But ultimately, again, about a month and a half before the election. And it really sets the hypocritical double standard of the judiciary process and specifically what's held by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. His own words have been used as a counter-argument to his position that he has taken.
Correct.
Lindsey Graham as well.
Correct.
Stated in 2016, use my words that I won't see this happen. And Lindsey Graham, I believe 3 days ago, so Tuesday of this week, or Monday, stated his position has changed and he reserves the right to change his mind because two conditions were met. The first is that it is a fully unified House or Chamber of Congress and presidency, and there is a Republican majority in that position. Now, with that said, Lindsey Graham effectively said the quiet part out loud. And their goals, them being Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, has openly stated his decision and ability to reshape the judiciary will be one of his crowning achievements. That he's believed that while he came in as a Tea Party, he was in as an elected official before the Tea Party, but he rode the coattails of them stating, we're going to push a more conservative judiciary, and the more federal judge positions that are staffed, the better. The other sort of belief or moniker that Mitch McConnell truly appreciates is he's dubbed the Grim Reaper of Congress. He's had hundreds of bills that have passed the House come to his desk figuratively. I'm sure they're not the stack of papers. There probably are many stacks of papers.
Understood. Agreed.
He has not brought any of them to a vote and has wished that all of these bills will just effectively die in his backlog. Now, with McConnell's achievement of reshaping the judiciary, the judicial branch, so quick backstory, I'm assuming if you're listening, you're probably aware of the three different branches of government. The judiciary is all of our court systems, our federal judges, appellate judges, and the Supreme Court as well.
Now sing it in the Schoolhouse Rock song.
When a bill becomes a law.
Our Attorney General.
He's the head of the Department of Justice, actually.
Is he? That's right, you're right. I'm sorry.
Now, the judiciary itself has always been a more conservative-leaning position because it is not their role to make laws. It is merely to interpret them as they are written. A second piece of that means that they will always rule in a more conservative position because they don't want to expand laws greater than it should be.
Excuse our random hand flailing as we try to kill this fly that is tormenting us.
When winter is coming, the flies will die.
One can hope. Now, there is a counter argument in the judicial branch that Chief Justice Roberts has actually stated. And it was that there are no Obama judges. There are no Trump judges. There are no Bush judges. You have just judges.
Right.
And there is the belief that the judicial branch is truly nonpartisan and subsequently bipartisan as well. So you will find consensus, and groups of people of varying beliefs will agree on something. Now, I would actually state that it is mostly a facade. It is an illusion of impartiality. Because, as we've seen, federal judges are appointed. They're nominated by the executive branch, which is a partisan branch of government, as to be expected. The Senate votes on those appointments. Again, a partisan entity as well. So it would behoove parties in power to then appoint and nominate, what I'll use the phrase is ideologically reliable judges, so that they can in turn rule on cases to how they would like sort of the ruling to be.
Sure. It's called hedging your bets.
So it's realpolitik, meaning that you take a pragmatic approach to governance. So people throw terms around all the time. I know I'm guilty of it all the time. I'm just saying buzzwords. So realpolitik is when individuals kind of abandon ethos and take a more questionably unethical, more pragmatic approach to things. And that is exactly what happens with the judicial branch. That is exactly what's happening with our current position with the nomination of Merrick Garland in 2016, the lack thereof nomination, and with the expedited nomination process going on now with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, this, commonly people would say, yeah, that's just politics. You would expect this to happen. To the point, I don't disagree. That is truly the case. The difference, though, is that historically speaking, there has only been one party to take this more pragmatic approach with it, while another keeps trying to reinforce the facade of impartiality. Started historically back with the passing of the Civil Rights Act, so mid 20th century, and the subsequent cases and rulings afterwards. There was a decision made by disgruntled and concerned conservatives that they would in turn begin not focusing on state houses, because legislative change commonly does not actually get implemented at the state level. It is a response to federal regulation and guidance. So they would turn more to how these laws were interpreted and then subsequently how they were implemented. Of course, that being the Republican Party. And we've seen a continued push of a more rightward shift of both the Supreme Court, but most federal positions, and appellate court judges as well. Now, follow-up question.
I'm eager to tell you why I think that's happening.
Is this a problem? Is really the question on it. Now, with the lifetime appointment of justices, because that is the other piece that this varies between the judicial branch versus the executive or legislative. We have term limits in the executive branch. We do not currently have term limits for House members, which we absolutely need, or the Senate. But we have kind of the antithesis of these term limits. We have lifetime appointments with justices. And that's ultimately by design of the judiciary. They want it so that when you have someone who does not need to go and vie for re-election, who does not need to go and try to appease masses, they could be truly, quote unquote, impartial arbiters of the law. So I guess my question for Jake Tanner as well is, there has been a whispers, I guess is the best way to word it, of a rather politically unpopular idea when it was last proposed in, I believe, the 40s by FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, And the phrase is court packing.
Yes.
So, a little background as well. The Supreme Court has no fixed membership. The amount of justices is appointed by statute, and throughout American history, we have, I think, upwards of 13 justices throughout the Civil War.
They wanted 18, right?
Originally.
18 was original. Okay.
Yep. Then I believe it was knocked down to an odd number so that there could be no ties. So it's typically moved around, I think at the low point, maybe 5, and then 13 during the Civil War period.
They settled on 9 now, right?
So we have 9.
We have 9, yes.
The idea of court packing was originally threatened by FDR as a response to the beginning of that disgruntled sort of conservative position. And it, again, politically very unpopular then. Now on sort of the liberal Twitter sphere.
I think it's still unpopular amongst most
against most voters. And the main reason why, because they're commonly asked, why don't you like this idea, is that they reinforce that belief of the impartiality of the judiciary. And they're like, well, the Supreme Court, it's not, people aren't elected to it, so why would we want to just staff it with people? Of which my ultimate response is, because this is the shift in which it is going. It is only a matter of time before we sort of lose that facade, because in practice, it is a facade. We have partisan entities putting in partisan players. There would be no reason for them being any member of the shared political party of the president and the Senate majority. Now, that was quite a mouthful, a lot of stuff going on for it.
That's good.
But
it's a lot. Well informed, very detailed.
2 questions for you guys.
2 questions, okay.
2. And it's with regards to the legislative precedents. Is it applicable? Does it matter that you adhere to that precedent when there is unified government acting against it? So what I mean by that is when we look at the Thurman Rule. Right now, the Thurman Rule is not even into question.
You're asking when society acts against it or goes against it?
So general question is, does this matter? Mm-hmm. That Congress, in tandem with the presidency, circumvent established norms in the legislative process.
Okay.
Because in truth, if the end result is the same, does it matter?
I guess maybe it just comes down to the road you took to get there.
So the question is, until there are 11.
Continuing with the judiciary, though, do you believe that it is still a nonpartisan entity? And we should continue to maintain that belief and, in hope, the actual practice of it being non-partial? Or is it truly just the might is right, we don't care, we're going to put our cronies, for lack of a better word, into these positions because it'll benefit us? We don't care if it's ethical. We want that sort of pragmatic approach.
So
and do you think the Supreme Court is currently that? Or is it still a non-partial part?
I would say the idealist in me
thinks it's time for wine.
Thinks we should
Drink up.
Always be seeking the balance, the checks and balance that the forefathers wanted to put in place, right? And a highly partisan Supreme Court, no matter which way it leans, is antithetical to a checks and balance system. And that's pretty much my whole perspective on it. I think it's wrong to stack the court. I think it's political suicide to stack the court.
Agreed.
And I think that there is certainly something inherently wrong with our current system of choosing a Supreme Court that is supposed to be the checks and balance to an executive branch that is picked by the executive branch and confirmed by, the Senate. It's there is some issue there, and I don't have a solution for it. I guess is my honest answer.
Would court packing and having a rotating appointment of justices address it?
Well, you and I spoke
So
about
not
this
lifetime
yesterday.
terms.
So no, they can still be lifetime terms. However, if let's say President-elect Joe Biden, trying to get in there early,
Jesus Christ.
says, you know what, we're going to bring the justices to 11. I'm going to throw on two.
I'm going to throw two Dems in there.
Yep, and throw them in. That in turn would still be a 6-5 conservative lean, by the way. So we're going to do that. Does that the assignment would be, well, 3 justices are going to go and hear this case. It's going to be the Chief Justice, and then we're just going to randomly pull the 2 others. So it's really, you have a board. Really, I mean, appellate judges do this. It's you get assigned an appellate judge.
See, I would. I don't know how to. Well, one obviously, yeah, no, I don't like the. I'm just going to stack courts, and just in general, I just think it's just too much of a flex of power. I don't think it's a problem. I'm going to say I think Obama shouldn't have been contested as much as he was when he wanted to nominate somebody. I don't think Trump should be contested as much as he is because he wants to nominate somebody. He's still a president, and he's not even a president up to election day. He's president past election day, and he's president into January. So it's not just like November he's out. He's got time after that. So I just want to know the window isn't as short as everyone's saying it is, or at least that he's in power.
So
He's still a president. One of the president's jobs is to appoint judge nominations. He is still the president. He is, and so was Obama. He should have been. Yeah.
To complicate it, though, he is the only impeached president to be in a position to nominate Supreme Court justices.
Impeached, but not.
So the impeachment is a House process.
Yes.
So-
I'm
so
aware.
He
I'm aware.
is an impeached president.
Yes, but he's still the president.
Qualifier.
Every
He
president that we qualify as impeached has the same qualifier, though, Tanner, right?
Yeah, they have all been impeached by the House.
And not confirmed.
They were all acquitted.
They're all acquitted.
Right.
So, okay, so they're still the president. Got it.
Yep.
So they're still the
They're
president, and they
not
still have all the
asked
duties of the president. The impeachment is just like Barry Bonds' asterisks in the books, but he's still a baseball player. It's still his job.
Oh,
What did I say? Did I say Barry Bonds?
yeah. I was going to say, why Barry Bonds? And I was like, HGH.
Yeah, he
What
dealt
a great
doping.
Kanye song.
Yeah. So he's still a baseball player, and Trump is still the president, just like Obama was still the president. So I'm definitely not with the Mitch McConnells and the Lindsey Grahams or the hypocrisy. I will call it the right being hypocritical about this, saying like Trump should be allowed to do this, whereas X amount of years ago they were like no. However, there is a little difference. Obama was on his last presidency; he could not get back into office, whereas Trump still can get 4 more years.
Certainly.
So there's a little bit of the playing field's a little different.
But
this election cycle,
the logic remains the same. Is the point that is kind of being made there? Because
not so much because if he
it is, the setup in place is the position they took was we are in the midst of an election, 207 days before the actual
Let the voters decide.
Let the voters decide, and let them flex this position. If they are against Merrick Garland, Hillary Clinton won't get in, despite the fact that Hillary Clinton was under no requirement to continue to push forward Merrick Garland. So the other element to it, though, is the show of impeachment. Because you're right, it's effectively, in an acquittal, it's a slap on the wrist saying you've been impeached by the House, but you don't have to pack your bags and leave Survivor Island. You are still carrying that sort of brand. Now, the act of impeachment is a demonstration that this individual has broken the law. I'm sorry, high crimes or misdemeanors, treason, and
Can I ask, speaking of impeachment, can I ask you a question? Because there's this thing going online with the left, and like even Pelosi has come out and say, there's a weird percentage that's like, yeah, we want Trump to win again because then we're going to impeach him again. Have you seen this?
I don't think people actually say that seriously.
But Yes, maybe
I
not
certainly
Tuesday.
don't agree with that either.
But
on top of it,
but Pelosi says is pushing for another impeachment.
So while he can't be tried on, soliciting foreign aid and misappropriating the presidential position, he could theoretically be impeached on directing agency heads to actively self-sabotage, I believe is one. The USPS, by the way, is an example for that, which I believe most courts have actually sued the USPS, and they've stopped pushing these programs to go and kneecap their efficiency. But to answer your question on it, I think it would be a fringe minority of people.
Okay, I just wanted to get your
I don't think
feedback on that.
anyone, even people that I talk to and socially distance with, none of them have that position. They're either campaigned through and through to get Biden elected so that we don't need to worry about this, or build guillotines so that we can assemble them later.
I guess then I'll go on to your second question, which is it nonpartisan still, or is this all just a facade? And I guess my bit of evidence for that it is still nonpartisan would be, and I also have a second statement to say why I think it's going more and more in a particular direction in terms of policy. I don't think it's nonpartisan because in a crucial vote back, was 2016? Whenever Obamacare was being voted on, in a crucial vote of striking down whether Obamacare was unconstitutional. By the way,
a provision of it was unconstitutional, which in turn would then be used to say it was.
Scalia, who is expected to go right, who is a staunch conservative.
He did.
No, he voted. No,
it was Chief Justice Roberts was the switch vote.
I thought it was Scalia.
No, Scalia was gutting the ACA every single moment that he could.
I will double check. I might misquote. I could have swore it was Scalia.
Because they thought Kennedy was going to, actually. But he wasn't there.
Also, Roberts has been reliably a by-the-law justice as well,
So Scalia was always known as a textualist who would be like, what are the words of this actually state? Which is why I would be surprised if he actually came through and said it. But it was definitely Justice Roberts was the swing vote to maintain that, and Scalia dissented against it. So I'm gunning for that fly. But now that said, I think the argument is still could be made for, Chief Justice Roberts attempting to maintain the impartiality of the judiciary branch. Again, he was on the record of stating, there's no Obama judges, there's no Trump judges. We are all just competent judges who are here to interpret the law as it is written. A more closer example, actually, is with the extension of I believe the Civil Rights Act for Title IX, which humorously, the phrase for because of sex to prevent sex discrimination against individuals based on certain criteria. A recent court case came up in which Chief Justice Roberts and Neil Gorsuch actually agreed with the liberal leaning justices. And it was to extend the Civil Rights Act protections for trans individuals. So it was a very big one there. And I think many people were kind of expected it to be a 5-4 majority with Chief Justice Roberts. So Neil Gorsuch was an interesting swing vote on that. So yes, there are certainly
Okay,
times.
well, so I'm sorry. Then I am correct. It wasn't Scalia. I misspoke. Then I guess my second would be.
I know my court cases.
You do. I mixed up my judges. I guess my next one would be that in an interview, Kavanaugh, nominated by Trump, obviously, said that he would not work to overturn Roe v. Wade. So he said that in an interview once. That one I know. That one I know.
That said with it, though, there's a difference between working and actively seeking cases to overturn Roe v. Wade. And in the event one is presented to him, he would vote to overturn the provision that would be used on it.
I also think, by the way, that that's the Republicans' endgame. I think I'm not necessarily for this. I think the Republicans' endgame is to get as many judges as they can that are conservative in nature, religious conservative in nature, to attempt to either repeal Roe v. Wade, which I don't think is going to happen, or at least turn it back to the states.
So the position that many have started kind of presenting as a point of concern is that Roe v. Wade's actual pieces of legislation, what is currently law based on it, has been fairly gutted as it is. Like, everyone seems to forget that women have a constitutional right to elect to have an abortion. That still didn't stop Louisiana from shuttering most of its abortion clinics, or the state of Texas moving to, I think, at the lowest, three or five active clinics to offer this. It also hasn't done a lot to push the sort of counter clinics that many on the religious right are pushing forward of, these are family planning clinics. Well, you'll go thinking that, for whatever reason, someone has decided that they wish to terminate. And these clinics are there to effectively convince them otherwise. And like in Hartford, I know kind of sadly that there are billboards of like, do you need help? Are you seeking sort of family planning services? And you go there and it's, these are the adoption papers that you're going to put forward because you're going to keep this kid, but you don't need to actually do anything with it. So it's disheartening to me that those acts are sort of viewed as, legal and operating within lines, because it also kind of speaks to the Republicans' endgame of fake news and disinformation campaigns. So,
question then. I was pulling up her name so I can make sure I know it right. What are your thoughts on Amy Coney Barrett?
So, Judge Barrett is a federal judge. Her nomination process was turbulent, to say the least, primarily because of Senator Dianne Feinstein in California. Judge Barrett is a very well-documented Catholic and is on the record of stating that her Catholic views influence her position. It is very difficult to walk that line of, we're impartial, we don't have these positions, and then be presented with that evidence of like, this is someone who's actively stated like, yes, my Catholic lifestyle influences all of my life decisions. Now, a good article actually came out in one of our local papers that... So
you're saying she's someone who, on the Constitution, says right to life. She's going to take it very seriously.
She will take it as a pro-life position.
As a pro-life position. Okay.
Yep.
Now, is there anything villainous about that? I would say no. On an individual level, it's not villainous
the right
take
to
that.
life would also include the right to terminate life.
Yeah, but
from the individual.
But you make that decision
yes,
of your own life.
But that's what I'm saying.
The right would say the baby does not have such a choice.
But it's not the libertarian perspective, not to put words in your mouth, but is it not the freedom of choice, sort of like...
Well, no one chooses to be born. So It is the accident of life that, puts people here.
Also, libertarians are very 50-50. I would say half the party's pro-choice, half the party's pro-life.
I'm actually not sure where you stand on that. I'm curious.
I was pro-choice most of my life. I've probably shifted more pro-life in the past 2 years.
So Judge Barrett would be the one to rule
against... That's right, guys. It's an abortion episode.
I'm pro-unlife, so...
Yeah, I am. Sign me up to become a lich. That's where I want to go. So Judge Barrett, I believe, would also rule against assisted suicide.
She would rule. I agree.
Against it.
I agree. She would, and that would conflict with, obviously, libertarian views.
Now, one of the other elements in place, and it's a position that I actually agree with a lot, our Senator Richard Blumenthal, so senator in Connecticut, stated that he didn't effectively care what her religion was, because he was like, you know what? Everyone is in this position. Most people in elected office are religious, or at least present the front of being religious.
The facade.
Yes. However, Blumenthal said, I will review her credentials and her criteria and how I think she will interpret laws, and if that is in alignment with me. So again, it's doubling back down on the judiciary is not impartial. It is a very partisan tool. So I think the better argument that people who are up in arms about Judge Barrett would be presented as she will dismantle elements of the Affordable Care Act. If your position is very anti-ACA, of course you'd want her on there. If you are
thumbs up for
single-payer health care, assuming there's a thumbs up from Jake.
Thumbs down to the camera. Thumbs up from Jake.
Thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. How about 4 thumbs up? Because
4 versus 2.
Thumbs up right up Tanner's ass.
Oh my god.
No, but I think that is the bigger sell. Because large in point, or case in point, Obamacare is viewed not as favorably as one would think.
We're not. I think we're
but
not
the-
very good on it, right?
But more people are in support of the Affordable Care Act.
You mean Mitch McConnell? I'm sorry, Mitt Romney.
Mitt
care.
Romney.
Exactly.
Well, it's Romney Care. Yeah, it's
Romney care extrapolated into a Democrat sphere for some reason.
And apparently, when you present the question of how people in the South and the Midwest feel on the ACA, overwhelming support. So I think from both sides of it. So I think the real pitch to swing voters for November, but also to everyday people who are trying to keep the pulse on politics, would be to present Judge Barrett as someone who is anti the ACA and not as some Catholic who is pro-life and going to remove abortion. Because again,
Do
unfortunately,
you think that's a tactic the left will take?
if they're smart, they will
You mean not go after the abortion issue?
not go after the abortion issue, go after the ACA one. And unfortunately, there have been articles and people coming out stating that they're worried that Dianne Feinstein will not let that go, because she was the one who presented it and made her nomination to the federal court very, very jarring. And she went after him for it, or went after her for it. And
Do you think
I
it'd be
don't think-
wise to go after her? So there's a
it would be wise to go after her stance on the ACA and go from a policy position, but to attack her character as a Catholic for it is not.
I think that would be a tough sell. I think that will turn people off to the left's goal to try and get at her. I know
if they do go after abortion, or
no,
if
they go after her moral character of being religious, being Catholic, and this is going to influence this. I'm going to find it difficult. So the right just assumes that if you're going to attack somebody on the right, your cards you play is racist. That's just boom. You're a white, whatever. You're in power. You did this on privilege, whatever. They're just going to use the race card. And I think it's going to be difficult to label her racist. I mean, just from researching, I know she has 7 kids. 2 of them are adopted and they're black. And 1 is a special needs kid. So I just think that's going to that's just a dead end. And
would that not be an element of tokenism? Because people say Bill de Blasio is a racist too, and his wife's black, his kid's black.
He is racist. He's racist towards whites. He's not marrying white women or having white kids.
So
how could we miss that?
So I do have a question here, for both of you.
Okay.
Today on September 24th, 2020.
It's really 24th already. Wow.
How do we
Surprise.
collectively feel about Mitt Romney?
So
Obviously, in regards to the issue at hand, but also at large.
okay. So you would want to field it first? You want me to hop in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about the judiciary, and I didn't
Yes.
think anyone else is.
Yes, you.
No, this is also in reference to the judiciary, because right now
So
we've now just learned that he will not
Stand against.
He will not stand against as one of the Republicans who has somewhat reliably stood against Donald Trump.
I was going to say,
and there's a reason for it.
Let's give context to the listeners. If you're not following,
Absolutely.
Mitt Romney was very anti-Trump. He was one of the few never Trump, Republicans to jump on that bandwagon. And so
because he's an actual billionaire.
Even during the Republican races, just in general politically, he's so wonder bread. Like, he's so plain and he's safe. He's like a Joe Biden that's coherent and doesn't have dementia. He's a safe bet for Republicans, and I didn't really mind him as a candidate overall. But in general, he opposed Trump. He thought he was too brash. He thought he was just vile for the position of president. And now he's come out, as Jake was saying, like, no, the president has this right. He's kind of, I don't want to use the term fallen in line, but it feels like
he's fallen in line for a couple of reasons.
At least this topic.
On this topic. Matter. Because, again, you have someone whose faith is very important. I mean,
he is a Latter-day Saint.
Yeah. And any justice who would reinforce religious freedom, I would not be surprised that he would get behind.
I think thirdly, he looks at this as not a Trump issue.
He looks at it for himself and his constituents. He
looks at it as a mainly conservative issue. So I think, in my mind, he separates himself from Donald Trump. He thinks Trump is bad for the party, but a Supreme Court justice is not bad for the party. That's how I see it.
He also is not in a contested race. He has overwhelming support in Utah.
It's going to happen. That's
yeah. He has nothing to lose. So 2 senators have come out against this nomination: Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. So senators from Maine and Alaska, both of them contested races.
Purple states.
Purple state. Well, Alaska, not so much. Maine, they have ranked choice voting, so it is very likely that Susan Gideon will present a good challenge. Susan Gideon is the current Maine Speaker of the House, and she is the Democratic primaries contestant against her. Now, Susan Collins is pro-choice. She generally votes in accordance with that. Lisa Murkowski is as well. Murkowski is actively... she's generally in Trump's crosshairs, which I always find funny.
When I say purple state for Alaska, I just want to qualify. I mean, Alaska is pretty much purple till it gets to the national level,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As it commonly is. And last week's episode, I think we talked about gerrymandering and districting.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, we dabbled into
So let's check that out. There are a few other senators which are still kind of up in the air. Chuck Grassley is one of them. Head of the Judiciary Committee. He is outgoing. He's not seeking re-election, and he generally has bumped heads with Trump in the past. He hasn't come out stating if he would support it. Another, Cory Gardner in Colorado. I don't think he's taken a position, but at least at this point, he probably will. So he is in a very contested race, and will likely...
Is there... And I'm just going to ask an overall broad question. Is there any nominee that Trump could nominate that would not feel the wrath of the left, that would not be overtaken by the narrative, doesn't matter, orange man bad?
A Democrat.
I don't think it would matter because
Merrick Garland.
Because Trump is...
Because Trump is Merrick Garland.
If you nominate Merrick Garland, it'd be the most ridiculous. It would be like
Merrick Garland is a moderate.
It would be like 3D chess.
He is truly a...
Legitimately 3D chess, where like maybe some Democrats would be like, oh.
But do you not think that the left is so out of its goddamn mind that they would say like Merrick Garland's like, oh, just because Trump did it, it's bad. Like,
he'll owe loyalty to Trump.
But your straw man left is not the bulk of people,
I don't...
loud minority. Just like same thing with the far right,
Not every alt-right, not all the readers of the Daily Stormer are fucking the Republican Party.
Of course not, but I'm just saying, is there anything Trump could do that would not give him a backlash outside
Merrick Garland?
That would be but he's never going to do that.
I would be.
Of course he's not.
I mean, I would still vote against Donald Trump in the election, but I would be like, what the fuck?
So I will parrot Mitch McConnell's position on it. It should be left to the next president. And if that's, if that president wants to go and nominate Judge Barrett, let him. If a different president doesn't, let them put them forward. I think because right now we're truly a little over a month from election day, the lame duck session, like Congress doesn't even meet through most of it.
Right.
So there's really no reason to try to do this last ditch effort outside of it being politically a sound decision. Like it's a very tactful move, which I think by pushing this forward, you are seeing sort of that degradation of the impartiality of the
Maybe-
So now here's the tinfoil.
Maybe unpopular opinion. I think if Donald Trump elected not to nominate till his next presidency, that would actually win him popularity vote.
That's
Probably.
a very bold statement, and I like it.
Probably, yeah.
That would be
There-
smart.
there-
You should be a Republican strategist, bro. You should just
They
go up to Washington, tell them what to do.
The amount of he would.
I'll introduce you to Rick Wilson, but I think he's on that Lincoln Project life.
There would be a sudden influx of moderate respect for someone making that choice electively.
Yeah.
It would definitely be I wasn't going to go out and vote for him anyways, but now that I know that the Supreme Court pick is on the line, it would be a great drive for turning out people.
I was going to ask
Sell
two
it
things.
to the GOP.
Yeah. Two things. One, I liked Judge Napolitano. I liked him. He's very libertarian. He's like even more like he fights with the right because he's openly said he's open borders, like libertarian. I've always liked him. But Travis, I know we've had a discussion. I think because he's been on a talk show or had a show on Fox, it should disqualify him.
Not that he should be disqualified, but that should be an object of discussion, which can't just be, he was talking in his own personal thing and not in any professional capacity. He was marketing himself as Judge Napolitano or Neapolitano, and one of those is a delicious ice cream, the other is a color palette, and the third is a justice. So when you go on a explicitly partisan,
Tapping me off a little bit.
so my argument about that was so my position on that is when you take someone who is supposed to be an impartial arbiter of the law and position them as a partisan to steal conservative talk radio's position, a hack job about things. You diminish the position, you diminish the character of that judge, and you now forever will tar them in this sort of brush. Because there's no way you can get around that. Mm-hmm. That will always be an element of, we can't bring him up because he's been a Fox News correspondent. The same would be true of the legal correspondent, I think it's Eli Koenig, at CNN, or whoever their legal correspondent is, who
I don't know.
an attorney.
I don't watch that fake news CNN.
If he were to become a position, a judge, I would fully expect and allow his commentary to be called in a question on it. That
Sure.
he is
I agree.
a liberal, a progressive-leaning, liberal-leaning judge.
So I guess I have one more question before we go to a break. We're doing a break. So one more quick question, and let me know what you think. This is my tinfoil hat question. Is all of this, obviously, Ruth dying is not something that's necessarily planned.
R.I.P. RBG.
Yes, not planned. However, is this whole debate and fiasco and battle that's going on in both the media and online and everything, is it a distraction for something bigger? Are we missing something? Are they pushing through a bill? Are they distracting
fun
us?
fact, Congress isn't in session right now.
Okay.
They don't work, truly. When people talk about government bloat and excess, Senate.
Yeah.
Right there.
Fucking
Right there.
Term limits, please.
Yes. That's why I think it's something we all agree on.
We all agree on that shit.
Term limits.
So,
Absolute,
I don't
absolute
think they're
power
in session.
corrupts absolutely. So there's nothing. Nothing distracting. You don't think that we should be paying attention to?
Almost, with the exception of the pandemic going on, and I think we're almost pushing 250,000 people dying.
Worldwide?
U.S.
This U.S.
Yeah. So, I think it's 220 maybe. I think probably closer to the 200,000, but yeah, it's we're up there. Which honestly,
Yeah, we're not the highest per capita, but we're the highest total for sure.
yeah, one of the interesting things about it, though, which I know, trying to go to a break, so I'll just have a quick closing remark for COVID. There's second wave surge in Europe because they've started relaxing positions, opening bars again. Which, as much as again, I love alcohol, I love going out drinking, I love beer culture. I like beer, in the words of Brett Kavanaugh.
Yes, but that second wave is hitting them right now.
Yes, and I think with the U.S. kind of just dealing with this proverbial shit show, it's kind of made it so that we're still almost in a decent position. I think
Because
that
we're in a bad position for so long.
Yes, that we've not improved. We've just been progressively getting shittier, but the shit's just a little bit lower each time.
Also, I think I brought this up in our last episode where I was talking about this sort of unvalidated, theory in the scientific community of like being exposed to a light load version of the virus, like by going out and wearing a mask and doing the social distance thing properly, but just being in an environment that might give you just a light touch of it is like a crude inoculation. That theory is really existing in the scientific community right now. That said, I'm in no way, advocating for that, but it's an interesting concept that in lieu of a vaccine right now, just doing everything you can to limit your exposure to it might give you some level of inoculation, apparently. Which,
Yeah,
again,
there was a study from Japan, I think I mentioned it last week too, where if you had exposure to a coronavirus, you have this odd natural kind of resistance to it. It's not exactly inoculation, but your body's fought off a coronavirus in the past. So
exactly. We're not talking about actual vaccine, and none of us are anti-vax right here. Am I correct about that?
I am. No, I'm not.
I figured. I knew that was the case. I just wanted to say that out loud.
Rand Paul was also pro-vaccine, which I thought was interesting.
He's a doctor. He should be.
So he was in the form of government intervention for administering a vaccine.
All right.
Which is why I was just like so weird. But yeah, so we'll go on break. Yes.
Break.
Come back with a new and exciting topic.
Why are the Jews
Oh boy, here we go.
Jewish?
Thank God we.
I'm glad that's where the pivot went.
Why are the Jews still Jewish? After this,
All right, see you
oh
later.
my God. Welcome back, part 2, episode 3 of Left Right Cab. I'm Tanner Hall. Joining me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Episode 2, technically.
Episode 2. Oh,
That's true.
We have
We start on 0.
Come on. Are we gonna do that? I can't. Did we kill the fly? We're still attempting to kill the fly.
Sorry, it was a hectic break. Try to go down my shirt. It's very.
So we have a pilot
brandy
episode, and we have 2 for Realsy Reels episodes. I think that makes 3 episodes, but apparently math isn't.
It's going to get more and more
Real.
complicated the farther we get in, so let's just stick with the current numbering system.
All right, fine. Second real episode here. Blackstone was the cab we were drinking. First part of our show was a lot on the judiciary system, the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and just court
Legal
court packing,
precedent,
court packing,
court packing.
just everything.
So we didn't actually talk about this, and here's kind of what I just want to address really quick before we move on. Can we just all say, and I think we all agree on this, like, rest in peace with Bader Ginsburg. What an influential woman. Like, she had a great run.
No one wants to see anyone die.
That's not true, but
I mean, like, in the sense of, like, I haven't seen a lot of hate, at least from the conservatives.
I would agree with that.
That are just like, haha, we're glad we're dead. But also, to credit to the left, I did not see a lot of hate from the left when Herman Cain went.
The sad part is that I think it's mostly there was a lot of hate when Scalia died because
There was.
Scalia was a
There was.
toad of a human being.
I felt bad for Herman Cain, for sure.
McCain.
Herman Cain.
Oh, Herman Cain.
Also McCain.
Also
He's a
McCain,
war hero.
yeah.
He's a war hero.
Well, I mean, I like people who don't get caught and captured.
Oh my
I don't
God.
like losers.
Yeah, but
suckers.
I also like guys who say, if my guys can't come back home with me, I'm fucking staying. I don't care what hole my daddy has back in Washington.
Yeah.
And so that alone. And here,
Yeah,
with
so
with
Rest in
McCain.
peace, McCain.
Yeah.
Really, rest in peace, RBG, who is the topic of this week. So
Yes, world-renowned litigator. I mean, she was instrumental for case law for
Women's rights?
among the most
Even
among the
with-
most influential classical feminists,
Absolutely. Fun fact: she was rabidly against court packing.
she was. And she also said 8 is a bad number and wants that 9th seat filled.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, again, predominantly due to ties.
Right.
but also she said to wait till after the presidency. But
Yep. Now that said, that is actually a position that I find myself on the right for. No member of the
Welcome. Here's your membership card.
I don't want it. No member of the judiciary has ever directed when their replacement will be done.
Sure.
And for a system that prides itself on legal precedent, despite skirting it all the time, as I just ranted about, RBG acknowledged and knew, like, you don't upset every norm. She very much pushed the borders and boundaries on many issues. I mean, she was a champion of women's rights. Watch Because of Sex. It's a biopic about her. Phenomenal work. Phenomenal lady. Just phenomenal person all around. So, yes.
So I have a question. Totally not political.
Burping
I guess
her?
more. What was that? I am burping the wine. Good thing I took my heartburn medication. Wine makes that act up real bad. Not political. I guess somewhat philosophical and moral and kind of more laid back and kind of silly in nature, I guess. And we
Okay.
can kind of go off of this. And it has to do with, during the break, Travis showed me the food in his fridge, or lack thereof of the food in his fridge.
there's pickles there.
And it baffled me.
You don't want to eat those pickles.
I've had those pickles.
I added a bunch of red pepper flakes.
I would like for the record to say
and
that
ruined
Jake has had Travis's pickles.
I enjoyed your pickles.
it. Not these ones. I ruined it with red pepper flakes.
When I ate them like 2 days ago.
Fair enough. All right,
Still
I guess they got better.
All right.
Like many pickles, they get better with age.
So it
wine.
was complete opposite of my fridge, which has like things in it, and and so
Stuff to eat.
stuff to eat. So my question to you, it kind of popped in my head during this break, was: were you a child? And Jake, this goes to you as well. Were you both children who were told to clean your plate, or you can't leave the table?
So
I think you're assuming a table.
You guys had a table?
Not so much
Shit.
a table.
it was just that there was stuff on said table.
Sure, and I think Travis and I had this kind of we didn't have the same traditional family structure. Maybe that you might expect.
Yeah.
Both of us had a similar situation in this regard, I think.
So was it a fend for yourself? Here's food's on the stove. Go get what you want. Buffet style.
So, like, I'm the youngest of 3 sons.
I'm the oldest of 3 non-sons.
I am an only child.
Yeah.
No, what, really?
You don't say.
What gave it away?
So, I definitely remember my parents being like, oh, like, eat as much as you can. Like, just there's starving kids somewhere. But later on, so probably like 13, like my teenage years moving forward, both my older brothers got jobs. They were out a lot. My mom was very much just like, here's food. We've made you a plate.
Do as you wish.
Do as you wish. Sitting down for dinner was something my mom still tried to do when everyone was in the house. But like my dad was very much the food is on the stove, help yourself.
Did you eat in front of TV? Or would you eat
Myself?
in front of
No,
like
actually.
the family? Was it a TV family, like in front of the TV, or was it at
For
the
sure,
kitchen
for sure.
table? Was it the diner?
So
Mine was more like in front of the computer, but yeah.
we never had like cable or any, I don't know, network television stuff at my dad's.
Okay.
So we were very much dining room table. Fun fact, I know you guys can't see it on it. I recently bought the place that we're in now. And one of the things that my dad brought me is the dining room table that we had as a child, which is
Over there.
over there.
Oh,
Jake,
we're-
we'll edit it later.
Oh, here goes the camera. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
I'll leave that.
It's full of magic cards and light thing. I mean, it doesn't matter. But
Don't shine too light. You'll see the dead bodies.
The table right there. I see. I have it open now.
well, whole bunch of magic cards. Big surprise there.
Yep.
So
The listeners really wanted to see the table.
no doubt, no doubt.
Got the list.
Now you have to readjust the camera.
That's good. I got this.
Am I even in it now?
knows?
It looks drastically
That-
facing you.
You're in it.
I hope so.
It's just your nose.
It's just my long nose.
But yeah, so family dinners like happened just because, we either A, were all there, or B, there was a conscious effort by one of my parents to kind of orchestrate it. But when I got older, it kind of devolved. We weren't always out doing stuff. We weren't kind of all together. My mom and my dad had sort of a don't stock up on groceries approach. Probably because they were like, we're not going to buy a bunch of groceries that are going to go bad because no one's here. So they kind of adopted this like purchase for the week. And like, yeah, you're going to go grocery shopping maybe twice a week sometimes, but you're really only buying a couple meals at a time.
Right.
You reduce the food waste. I don't think either of my parents were that like woke on it.
You think it was more financial?
I think it was
decision?
more an economic position for sure. Especially with my mom. My dad was just
It was like Thatcher.
he was weekend dad for
Work during the
growing
week, home during the weekends. So what was
up. Parents split.
Split, yeah.
So,
Oh,
So, like, I was
okay,
with my dad on
okay,
weekends.
I'm sorry.
and like he
That informs this kind of what you've been talking about for the past 10 minutes so much.
yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, my parents were
I
divorced.
just assumed Tanner knew that, and also the listeners, because I was
No.
like, of course that explains what we're talking about right now, but you already know that. 'cause it's
Okay,
them.
so my parents are
Check.
also divorced, but it didn't happen until I was 16 or 17. So in terms of the
was like
raising,
9 or 10.
as far as my childhood memories, they're together. They are married, and as far as my childhood memories are concerned. So I was raised with. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off at a point if you had a stream of thought.
No, but you're going into a point that I definitely have a comment on. So
Oh, okay. I was raised with I'm an only child, and I wasn't raised to clear your plate. My parents both were, and they were product of children being in the 60s and 70s, and they didn't like that because sometimes they made things that were terrible and just didn't want to eat it.
liver and onions.
Liver and onions. And
There's a weird level of abuse if you think about it.
so here's where it comes into. I'm gonna bring it up to a scientific study that I was reading today, and it also ties in. It just ties into everything here. It was I didn't have to clear my plate, but I had to at least try everything on the plate. I was a very picky eater, and there's just certain things that now I've definitely my horizons have expanded since I.
I don't know. You're still chicken wing and not chicken tender. So dilemma.
I like no. I like fried chicken tenders, but chicken wings. If I'm just like at a party doing like the old fashioned chicken wings.
Sorry.
Yeah, you cleaned that with the camera. You muddied up. Where was I? Try everything on the plate. And definitely my food tastes have expanded. You know, I would never eat sushi as a kid. Now I can't get enough sushi. So I'm definitely more open-minded. No, now I'm definitely more open-minded. But my parents never forced it on me. And there was a study that I was reading today on the Uber left site that is Reddit.
Our the Donald is like one of the highest.
They shut that down.
Did they?
Yeah. Our Donald is shut down. Done.
No, the Donald? Or
Our
just our Donald?
the Donald, whatever.
Okay.
That whole spiel. Done. That was done. A few other they are definitely alt-right. So understandably. But like all like our conservative and our libertarian were like shaking, like, oh god, are we gonna be targeted? We were shook. But we were spared. There was a study. I could pull it up and try and find the actual link for you guys. That said that parents that make kids, study finds that parents that make kids clear their plates and eat all their food before they can leave the table trains kids to ignore their internal body hunger cues and gets them to ignore that, which then in turn causes them to have weight issues in their middle of their life and later in life. So they found that people that tend to be slightly overweight or lived in a household or lifestyle that was finish all your food. Whereas, I'm not saying this is evidence, but I'm a slender dude and I was not trained to, but I was a fat baby. I was 10 pounds.
Jesus. Your poor mother.
And I just stretched out and I just like wringed me out like a towel and now I stretched out. But
so, an interesting piece, because a lot of the finish your plate mentality is, you know, children who were raised by Great Depression parents. Because they're like, you don't know when you're going to eat again. So like you finish your plate, you eat everything that's there. So those parents kind of take that, say, well, this is what I assume childhood to be like. You need to finish your plate too. So it's good that there was sort of a break.
So you're saying it's like it's the feast of famine kind of mentality with
commonly, and also like don't throw shit away.
Do you think we're going to hit that? Well, I guess I can't talk. We had a toilet paper shortage in 2020, guys, so we could be out of something.
We had all paper goods shortages.
Yes.
Is there a Thatcherism link though between Thatcherism and Reaganism too, obviously, and that sort of Methodist
the Methodist austere sort of view of.
Is there a link between there and modern like liberal ecological environmentalism?
I wish. Most children of Reagan households and austerity households are not commonly talking about conservation.
Yeah, they're not environmentally sound individuals.
I'm not saying there is one. I'm saying is there value to pursue there? Like reach across the aisle to old Thatcherist, Methodist,
I think in the current political
resources.
Sphere in America, no. It saddens me, but no. Probably
eventually they'll have to,
Will they? Because we've seen a lot of the uber wealthy on the right say like we're gonna go elsewhere.
That's not what I mean. If you extrapolate the consumption of resources far enough, at some point you'll have to be resource conservative out of necessity.
If our
it just falls back to that, right?
Yeah, that eventually you're going to burn through everything that you're going to need to.
Scarcity.
Water is going to be a traded commodity.
Yeah, scarcity won't be.
Oh wait, it already is.
Scarcity will no longer
clean
be
water,
like
big issue in the U.S. right now.
Environmental perspective will be
Only in Flint.
a legitimate,
Still
realistic, lack of resources. And yeah, like you said, Flint's a good example, honestly, because as soon as the local water supply gets tainted or harmed in any way, that local area is immediately impacted by that, and because they don't conserve and no one else around them conserves, those resources. There's no like there's no excess surplus to give to those communities that are suffering.
So yeah, there's a lot of articles on this. By the way, the healthychildren.org already is on board with No More Clean Your Plate Club. Is put in another article from
Admittedly, I don't put a lot of stake in
NCBI
awakenedmind.com or healthiest child.
Is plate clearing a risk factor of obesity? But these are like a little bit older. But if you Google this stuff, there's tons of articles on it. There was one recently on Reddit that was talking about that they found.
Honestly, I'm not surprised because a lot of times children, I mean, young adults, even adults, if they're out to eat somewhere, they have this subconscious sort of drive of like, I need to eat everything because I'm here and this is an experience, rather than eating until you're satisfied and you are no longer hungry. Not eating to the point of excess where you're physically uncomfortable.
So if you have a parent that has a 7-year-old and you say, it is 6 p.m., it is dinner time, and they say, I am not hungry, is it a form of child abuse to make them eat? To force them to eat when they're not hungry?
I think emotional.
Now I know they're gonna say, like, and it's like, oh, Mike, I know an hour later when all the food's clear, he's gonna want a snack and he's gonna want food, and it's just like, okay, but his hunger cue hit him at 7, not 6. Sorry.
As a biological creature,
yeah,
he should be entitled to that.
That autonomy, but minors don't have that sort of
autonomy to be able to respond to his own biological cues on their time cycle.
Is it something similar to saying like, all right, it's 6 p.m., this is poop time, you gotta go in the toilet and poop? It's like, well, no, my body's telling me I don't want to poop, I can't poop.
With enough fiber, you can train yourself.
If we get that kid on coffee every morning, he's pooping at this time every day.
You're right, Tanner. If you put your kid on the toilet at 6 p.m. with no other reason to put them there, right?
Yeah.
And you shout at them, you poop now. You have to poop right the fuck now.
I mean,
that's abuse, right?
I think that's what the LDS people do. This is your shame.
I'm on Tanner's
this is your
side of
sin.
Woo! We did it. It took 2 and a pilot, but we got there.
I would say, like, I think if you translate that same concept over to eating, it is kind of abuse. I mean,
so
we're all biological people.
There is a fundamental difference between,
and everybody's clock is different. Everybody's
for sure.
So
everybody's feeling is different because there's people that can eat like Matt Ivan. Okay, so there's a friend of ours, Matt.
Motherfucker. Let's not use his last name, but like
we already did.
Too late. They're famous.
He has a first name, last name, so he's probably a serial killer.
Yeah. So now he's famous. He orders like the 24 party pack from Taco Bell for himself. He orders large pizzas for himself. He's a skinny kid, and I don't know where he packs it or hides it. Whereas me, it's like we get a large. I'm gonna eat a slice and a half, and I'm full. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how he does it, but
so
it would be a good thing if his parents said like eat. He'd be like, yes, thank you. It's like that's not a threat. That's a good time.
Now I see the libertarian perspective what you have here, and I don't disagree with it. In that we can draw these commonalities between calorie limits or whatever, right? But everyone's body is going to respond to the input differently because we literally grew up separately. We are different bodies.
So
like,
yeah,
like you're
yes.
saying, what Taylor's saying is one man can eat a whole pizza and lose weight, and another can eat 3 slices and gain weight. And that is true.
He's also 19, 20 and has a metabolism like a motherfucker.
Sure.
So metabolic rates don't actually fluctuate that much between people, which I always love it when they're like, you take this pill and speed up your metabolism. No, it's an appetite suppressant and it's full of fucking caffeine.
No. The metabolism is...
Metabolic rate doesn't change that much.
It's the whole story, though, because metabolic rate and resting activity levels are drastically different between people as well.
For sure. Someone's heart rate could be through the roof when they're resting.
Sure.
And in turn, it is working more and will require a greater amount of...
I'm saying 2 different people will have up to thousands of calories different of expenditure a day.
Not in a day. Mm-hmm. Expenditure.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are physically doing things, yes. But if we're saying we have
playing Skyrim all day.
2 people who are just playing Skyrim sitting there.
You and I have rested jobs. We sit in a chair for the most part. A man who goes out and works construction all day does not have a rested job. He'll spend upwards of 1,000 or more calories.
That is literally my point. That he's not existing. He is working. He is engaged in an activity.
His working is an existence, is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's semantics on the term of existence. If you have 2 people, in order to compare them correctly, doing the same thing,
right,
then their variance in caloric intake is not going to change that much.
That's not what that was my point.
But it's more of a remark of someone has 3 slices and gains 20 pounds Another person eats 3 medium pizzas and sheds 5.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to that sort of setup, yeah, there's plenty of reasons why our friend can just shovel calories down in his face and nothing will change. But the real sort of question that you're asking on whether or not mandating chow times as, that sweet military approach, is that abuse? And I would say that you can't directly equate saying you're going to eat at 6 p.m. because 6 p.m. is dinner time to sit on this toilet at 10:15 and poop. Because one of those, well, yes, everyone poops and is part of a natural...
Everyone eats and is part of a natural process.
But the thing is, you require food to constantly survive. You need to consume energy.
But is it worth ignoring your natural
I would argue you need to poop
So
to survive.
when it comes to ignoring... I will say this.
Logical fallacy, you need a poop to survive as well, though.
Do you?
Yeah, yes. You need to remove...
I think we've seen
wait,
human centipede here.
You need to remove human waste.
First off, Kim Jong-un works so hard, he just burns it all up. So he doesn't poop.
Also, human centipede, they all still shit. What are you talking about?
Not the third one.
He does shit.
He did just...
They die.
Well, yeah.
They get sick from it. Anyway,
Actually, yeah.
okay, that's missing the point of what I'm actually saying. What I will say is, dinner time at 6...
IMDb, human centipede.
If a parent says dinner time is at 6, you're eating at 6, that is not abuse. The abuse comes in when they say you will not be able to eat at any other time.
Now, because there's another... I'm sure there's probably going to be... If there's people that listen to this that would say that...
There's people.
If there's people. Everyone's going to say, all 8 of you, that kids crave structure. And that at 6 p.m., this is when we eat. And at this time is nap time. And this time is playtime. And this time is go to the park time. And this, so if the child might get into, the timing and the structure might put his body into a natural rhythm. I can attest to that, at least because I used to work night shift at the casino.
So I was going to say, I used to work second, so that's where I was going.
And then that was how my body was. And then I started to go back to day shift, and my body naturally shifted to now, it's 11:15 and at night, and I'm tired. I'm normally kind of winding down, and I still have a 2-hour drive home. I'm going to be kind of wiped, but my body got back into a rhythm, a natural cycle of this. So is that a factor, do you think? I'm not sure. I'm fortunately not an expert on this. It's more spitballing. But
yeah, I think that when you see a lot of those, children crave structure, they crave routine. I think that when you're building those routines...
And discipline.
Cause and effect. That's where I'll probably go with that route. People crave these structures because we know people crave the known and the repeatable. I am just, sweeping generalization. All people crave something that's repetitive. We like routine. We are social creatures, regardless.
We are creatures of habit. So.
And as a small child, is it the role of parents to build those habits in their children so that they in turn could live positive, healthy-ish lives? I would say yes. Mm-hmm. So by establishing the, dinner's at 6, you should be here if you want dinner with the rest of us, that is an abuse. It is when it then escalates further to be like, you missed dinner, so you're not eating tonight. That's fucking abuse.
So there's a story from Bill Burr, if you ever watch his stand-ups or any of his interviews, he talks about a time where when he grew up, which was obviously in the 70s, and whatever you didn't finish for dinner was your breakfast the next morning.
Delicious.
It's also...
But they had cube steak.
Cube steak is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the meat you have to pound with a hammer to get it edible. Yeah, it's pretty good.
You flatten it. But yeah, you can honestly, again, growing up, there are low points in my childhood before, growing up, not economically advantaged for certain pieces. Yeah, I had cube steak. Actually, really liked it to the point that
I eat cube steak today, I think.
I would as well.
Or Salisbury steak too.
Salisbury steak is, yeah, I'll eat that. It's that gravy.
Trashy. It's so trashy, but it's so good.
But with cube steak,
he's a fucking single child.
This economic privilege of not eating cube steak.
I don't think we probably did. I remember my mom had all the spikes on the end, right? The
So
hammer.
it's a meat tenderizer for
Okay,
it.
yeah,
But that
yeah.
said, you can actually buy it with the holes in there, which is what my mom did. She was no way was she going to actually
Okay, I remember having the spike hammer.
beat that meat. I think I actually have one of those.
But anyways,
spiked
I
hammer
just know the
things.
rest of the Bill Burr story is he had his little brother who's still in a high chair, didn't finish his supper. That's also another thing. Supper and dinner. That's a New England thing, right?
Yeah.
We have supper. That's not nowhere
I
else in
mean,
the world.
we had it as dinner,
Okay.
but like,
Yeah, supper is like the pre-dinner meal. There's 4 meals, and
We have supper and dinner. We have living rooms and family rooms. They're different
yeah,
rooms.
parlors. Yeah,
one of them includes a dining room that only gets used on major holidays,
Yeah.
and the
Always.
other is a den. I was the family room,
Sunroom,
living room, and den, and the differences between each of them. Honestly, I don't think
the
there's
parlor.
any.
You're missing the parlor. The parlor is the 4th one.
So parlors
Parlor sounds so
are there.
pinky up.
A parlor is where you entertain guests, I think.
Which is like the living room.
The parlor, yeah, the living. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
a den is for relaxing.
Living room.
A
is
living
for
room is for the
entertaining.
yeah. We're gonna all come sit on these couches and talk to each other about our day.
The family room is for the family, for filling up.
I feel like would the family room and a den be similar?
No, the family room was like, so for me in my mind, the family room was the expansion area for when you had bigger parties, right?
Kids weren't allowed in the den. That's where the men smoked their cigars and drink their beers and talk manly things.
The man caves.
Yeah, it was the original. Dens are the
Was
original.
den was the
man caves.
original man cave.
Den is the original man cave. That's actually the title of this episode.
So, but anyways, in the story, the kid, his little brother in a high chair doesn't finish the cube steak, and so the next morning, the mom prepares all. Oh, I see a hand up in the air. Okay, I don't know what that means.
Lightning.
Oh, okay. His mom prepares a big breakfast, waffles and hash browns and bacon and all that stuff, and the kid just has his cube steak in front of him in his little high chair, and he goes, Mom, can I have a waffle? And she's like, no, that's your dinner. You didn't finish it. He goes, well, after I finish this, can I then have a waffle? And she goes, no, that's your supper. Whatever. You're gonna finish that. And this just shows how different of a time it was. He just goes, oh, Mom, I hate you. And he goes, my dad, without even looking up from the newspaper, took his glass of milk and threw it in his face, and then kept reading.
So definitely child of the 70s, parents' depression era stuff. Very much taught in the you will save things, as Jake pointed out. The you won't be wasteful for it. That said, there were definitely times when my parents were like, oh yeah, we did breakfast for dinner and I made way too many pancakes, so guess what you're having for breakfast in the morning. Which is great. Highly recommend breakfast for dinner for people.
Mm-hmm.
The never wasting things. Do you think that ties in with
I'm a never waster.
of why you see people of that age and that generation be hoarders as
Yes.
opposed to maybe
Sure.
the youth?
100%,
I don't
yes.
think the youth are as much hoarders as these 40, 50, 60-year-olds are.
110%.
Maybe it's just the show
yes.
Hoarders that just shows these people, but I don't see a lot of 28 and under,
So-
30 and under on that show.
Fully agree with you. Yeah, or if that is your position, that the elderly are commonly
The hoarders.
The hoarders,
because
huh?
of that.
Because of that
Don't throw
mentality.
something away. You
Yep.
might need it someday. You don't want to waste it. Save the
Exactly.
money.
It is a austere position. Again, it's this post-depression upbringings where they're like, this is a newspaper from 1965 and this was the headline. I may need this at one point sometime in the future.
The internet.
Yeah. The entire font of human history and all of human knowledge is a keyboard away. And they're like, no, I'm going to go check the stacks in the basement.
It's in your pocket. Not even just a keyboard away. It's in your pocket.
Yeah. So I do think that sort of hoarder mentality is tied into this like post-depression sort of save everything stance. It'll be real interesting because in the same time, as Jake was pointing out, that like younger people are environmentally conscientious. They're some of the most like the greatest consumers of just stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, I bought an IKEA bed that lasted me one apartment. So then I bought a new one when I moved and just threw out the other stuff. And I'm just like, well, admittedly not the case fully. I mean, as I said, my dining room table is like 25 years old. This bar I built, or my brother did most of it. Did pretty much all of it.
Just take the credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I helped.
It was me. All of me.
It was 6 years. Most of the stuff that I own is like multi-year kind of keeping it. But I also know people who are just like, yeah, I got Wayfair furniture and it broke and then I got a new one. And it's just like, I can guarantee you if they had that mentality in the 60s, they would get like hit with a switch and then they would be told to like fix whatever broke on it. Because it is very much that sort of older mentality.
Let's just talk about
Yes.
You didn't say that.
It was off camera, and it's a shame.
Yeah. I'm assuming it was corked.
Jake attempted to pour more wine, but the cork was in, so he just tipped a glass upside down into an empty glass, and just nothing happened. Oh, it was so good. I'm so happy I was alive to see that.
No.
I will take a little bit of top. You can top me up on the backside here. Thank you so much. That's actually perfect amount. Thank you.
You're in for a treat.
I'm still driving, so.
It's wonderful Blackstone.
Wonderful Blackstone. Yes. Watch my face and let me tell you if it's Blackstone or not.
It's a much
It's not. That is not Blackstone, my friend.
Should we just clear about this?
Sure. Yeah. So midway through the break, we realized that Blackstone was so good that we're like,
We ran out.
we ran out. We finished the bottle on it. As a pass on trying to make it seem as though we were still drinking it, I grabbed another red, Longevity.
Brute is the name of this wine.
This is, I mean, the irony is that it's longevity.
Here for a good time, not for a long time. You know?
Gotta say, fun fact, both of these California cabs, one of them is infinitely better than the other. And that said, I appreciate any bottle of wine that has a removable and resealable cork.
That's convenient, and it might get you a half point higher when we're gonna rate it right now. We're rating it right now.
It is, this is a 3.5 because of
I was
the
giving it 3.5. 3.5.
the cork. Yeah.
The half gave it's a 3, and the half for the cork 3.5.
Yeah, the flavor is empty. It's acidic. It's fine.
You're like, this is a cab.
It's got alcohol in it.
That's alcohol.
Jake's low bar, a 5.
If we were just having a party and
I think he would say 3 to 5.
No, I wouldn't punish people with this one.
No, but if I knew that I was crashing here and I wasn't driving, and I just didn't care what fucked me up, like I'm just gonna drink to drink, just pour it in my, put a drink in my hand. I don't care. I'm not gonna care this. So
This
is a sober 3.5 and a drunk 6.5.
Because it has alcohol in it.
It's the drunk 5.
The drug 5 is like a category of wine that I can't explain, but
I can tell you right now, Carlo Rossi is within that 5.
it's
Hold on.
The sweetness makes me sick sometimes.
$11.99 is my price meter. What's your price meter, Jake?
For this one?
I said $11.99.
Oh, $5.99.
No, Jake technically wins without going over. It is a $10.99 bottle.
Oh my god, so close.
I had an easy game there.
I was closest by $1 by $1.
Yeah, didn't matter. Price
the
is right.
dice.
Price is right.
We've accepted that as the currency here.
Yeah, but Bob Barker's not the host anymore.
I would actually like to
Who's the
recommend.
host? Is
Drew Carey.
Is it Drew Carey? That's what I thought. Yeah.
Who is aged. It's like
That show
He
will
lost
steal
weight,
your
no.
soul.
he lost a lot of weight and then he lost a lot of color in his hair.
He lost a lot of weight and lost a lot of years. Is what you're trying to say.
Is he slowly just morphing into Bob Barker?
Yeah.
Is that the case?
And now he's,
Much like there must always be a Gandhi, there must always be Bob Barker.
so if they ever make Happy Gilmore 2, he will be the guy. No, Happy Gilmore. Yeah, Happy
Yeah,
Gilmore.
it's Happy
No,
Gilmore.
I'm thinking Billy Madison.
The
Happy
price
Gilmore.
is wrong, bitch.
So we're way past an hour and a half. We should probably get.
Okay,
to our-
questions. Yes. Thank
Sure.
you. That. Yes.
Just
So
gonna- I was trying to give hand signals earlier, and it didn't really work out.
I thought you were trying to grab the fly or swat the fly.
Yeah, honestly, this has been an entire episode of like, let's kill that fly.
I drew a lightning symbol in the air. And I was like, oh, they got that. Makes sense.
So at the end of every show, we do a lightning round questions. A couple questions. I have 4 this week. Last ones we've had 5. I only got 4 this week. That's fine.
Give us your fucking questions.
What?
Damn it.
Read them all?
Give us your questions.
Okay. So I'm just letting the listeners know maybe this is their first show watching. They don't know what we do. At the end of the show, lightning round questions. Try and make them quick. Here we go. First one from AJ. This one's kind of more to me. Sorry, guys. I listened to both shows. Good job. Keep it up. So we got a compliment.
Yeah.
I noticed multiple fantasy references from Tanner. I have Brady. He's talking about fantasy football.
Fantasy football. Okay.
I noticed Tanner has quoted fantasy picks sometimes. I have Brady. Should I start him this week versus Denver, or should I stream? Okay, so here's the deal.
He's on the Buccaneers. Right?
He's on the Buccaneers now. Okay. So before this show, if this show happened before the game tonight, it's Thursday night. The game tonight, I would have said you should stream Gardner Minshew, who is the Jacksonville Jaguar quarterback. Okay, because he's playing the Dolphins, and Dolphins are dookie cheeks. But the Dolphins are lighting him up right now, and he has garbage points. Every analyst said Gardner Minshew is a good start and should start him over certain, even like over Deshaun Watson, like high tier people. So I would have said, yeah, you should maybe look into streaming Gardner Minshew. After seeing what his points are last break, which was like 8 points, which is bad, you should just play Brady now this week. Play Brady. I would have told you Gardner Minshew before the show. Now that I've seen the points, Brady.
You're not a Boston fan, right?
I am a Boston fan.
You are a Boston. Okay.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is for all of us. This one's gonna be quick. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats.
Dogs.
Oh, I'm the only cat person here.
So the only
answer
exception is Maine Coons because they are cats that function like dogs.
Also,
so like I love them too.
Cats are less maintenance and less fun. Dogs
That's not true. Cats are great. My cats are amazing.
So growing up, I had 2 Mongolian ragdolls. They were big, giant fucking cats. Reggie and Elby. They were some of the most like social, like loved playing cats, with the exception of Elby. He'd scratch you. But Reggie, like I remember picking him up and throwing him into the couch. And then he'd just run back to me and he's like, do it again.
My
So,
cat
like,
does
some-
that
some
too. My
cats
cat's
are-
very
some cats are
dog-like.
good.
My
But
cat
it's
will
all-
lick my face repeatedly.
But
Male
is
cats,
is that?
male cats though? Not any-
I mean, I'm gonna leave your interspecies
I
sexism
can't
aside.
ask the gender of the cat.
How dare you assume the cat's
I
gender?
don't know his pronouns, but
Their pronouns.
his sex, not his gender. Their sex, not their gender. Sorry, is clearly a male cat. Every male cat that I've had in that regard, in that perspective, has been the most friendly cat I've ever had.
So you actually made a remark kind of quickly for it. Your cat would like love to play, would lick your face.
She literally will
very
non-stop will do it.
Dog-like behaviors. Do you like your cats solely because they remind you of dogs,
Also,
or is that an
No.
element
No.
of it?
No, because
And
dogs
did you have
are,
a dog growing up as a kid?
No, I had cats.
There you go.
So so I'm not anti-dog. I do like dogs, but they're just they can be so rambunctious, and I don't have to get up in the morning to walk my cat. I don't gotta go out at night to walk the cat. The cat's just chill. And I guess maybe I'm a little bit.
certainly the commitment and the responsibility and the.
And they are loyal and they're loving and they definitely are. If
Cats domesticated themselves, so
If-
I
if
don't think
I-
they love anyone other than them.
no, if we were all standing in a line and 5 of us and my cat was here and we had to call, she's coming to me, and there's loyalty there.
If you're a dog, it might come to me though. That's the thing. I think dogs don't have this. I mean, dogs are loyal for sure, but I think dogs are so.
I guess
affectionate.
I'm taking the Mark Twain approach, where he said, "If you're not a fan of cats, you're not a friend of mine."
I'm a fan of cats.
I'll take the.
None of us
was
are
it-
fans
was
of
it-
cats, though, right?
Franklin, who was the one who was like, if my dog doesn't like you, I don't trust you, or like I don't like you either.
I've had many more cats in my life than dogs, though. My mom was a cat lady. I had 5 cats at one point and 1 dog. So like, certainly cats are like my life, and I love cats. And I really
That's why you have 3 dogs now.
I respect. Well,
Oh, this wine is so harsh.
the freaking, it's like hard alcohol,
It's like taking a shot of liquor.
but with less alcohol in it.
Ugh.
Honestly, I don't think it's that bad. I'm kind of moving to that drunk vibe.
No, but back to cats. Had 5 or 6 cats growing up. Like at all times, rotating cats. I had 1 dog. The 3 dogs also. I love dogs. I think dogs are better personality-wise. I think cats are better overall. That's my full answer.
Well, it's okay to be the only one right in the room.
I guess so.
I have 3 dogs, and really the only problem with dogs is the amount of effort put into taking care of them. You know, like
Good. Case closed. Cats win.
I can go out for a weekend with a cat and just leave, and that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like they'll survive.
You cannot do that with a dog. You just can't do it.
Which is why I don't have any pets, and I would very much love a dog.
And I have no cats and 3 dogs right now, and my 3 dogs that are love of my life
If I were to get a pet, it would probably be a cat.
would never hurt a dog. Well, you want a rat
This is a
cat.
chill.
Yeah, I'd want like
Cats
a
are
mousey.
I don't know. Cats
Yeah.
are the intellectuals' pets. It's
So we live in New England, and cats are a commodity almost at this point because we have mouse and rat invasion in houses like at the highest level, essentially, because of the density of people who live here and how cold it gets.
Yep.
It shoves all those.
Having a mouse here is just like necessary.
I preface that with this is going to be a quick one because I thought we would just say cats, dogs. I'm like, oh great, but now we have to justify our picks.
Yeah.
All right,
So both.
so that was from Sarah. From my friend Brendan, what is your favorite fast food? I'm assuming he meant chain, like a chain,
Yeah.
not like I like Chinese food, like yeah, like.
Taco Bell.
I realized when I had to sit here and think about it, my answer is so on the right, and it made me. It's like this solidified
About to
it.
say Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A is so fucking good.
Is it really?
It's not that great.
Oh, stop, Travis! It's so good.
It's pretty good.
And you have to.
Is it really fast food in Connecticut? So when I say Taco Bell,
There are drive-through Chick-fil-A's in Connecticut.
There's
Yeah.
Mohegan Sun. There's
they're
Chick-fil-A.
very rare.
Yeah, it's not a drive-in.
It's not a drive-in.
It's not there. It's fast food, though.
You just slog
so-
into the fucking casino to get it.
Okay, you
Yeah,
can
but
you
there
get
are
Taco Bell.
other
There's Taco Bells and
Chick-fil-A's
Pizza
and
Huts inside
They're
of Targets.
like,
When I think of like common fast
Combination Pizza Hut
food,
and
hold
Taco
the
Bell.
because I would say Raising Cane's is my favorite fast food in that case, but like it's not here really. So commonly available fast food in Connecticut, we have Wendy's, Burger King, Taco
We have the big
Bell,
guys.
McDonald's.
There's a Sonic. There's
There's
Popeyes.
Sonics, there's Popeyes, there's KFC's.
There's no In-N-Outs. That's a West Coast boy. There's no Hardee's. There's no Carl's Jr.'s. There's
So-
from like the commonly available where you can find
Carl's
them in 20
Jr.'s is
minutes.
great. We also don't have Jack in the Box.
no Jack in the
What
Box.
I'm saying is, so 20 minutes from wherever you are in Connecticut, those are the ones. Those are the answers. Of that subset, I would say Taco Bell.
Do we count? Are we counting things like Moe's and Five Guys as fast food?
No. So I do always clarify those as short order restaurants
Yeah, short order is
because
fast
they
food.
themselves don't identify as fast food.
Yeah.
They're
pretty
like,
fast.
we're different.
5
Yeah, like
I get
I
a couple
love
but you can't drive.
Jersey Mike's actually phenomenal, like
Well,
short order.
Jake's way back.
Is Subway fast food then? No.
So Subway is also short order.
Okay. All right.
But Subway.
Again, it is the drive-through mechanic. There's a drive-through Dunkin'. There's not a drive-through Subway.
There are drive-throughs in Subways though. The one in Orange has a drive-through.
Yeah, I think it's the only one in the state.
Full clearance.
By the way, Subway is headquartered here.
Is
in
Dunkin'
Milford.
Donuts and Starbucks fast food.
Dunkin' is.
transparency.
Starbucks not so much because they don't actually make like it's.
Dunk's
production's a little weird.
Dunk's in Massachusetts, and
I thought we
Subway's in
figured-
Connecticut.
That's right. We did figure that out. That
Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Mass.
Dunkin' was headquartered in.
So
Mass.
I love Chick-fil-A. They have the sauce that's honey roasted barbecue. It's not out.
Chick-fil-A is delicious.
It's not normal. You have to request that sauce. It's behind
I'm in
the
no
counter.
way arguing that Chick-fil-A is delicious. It's just not really fast food here. It is fast food, just not really here. All in the same way that I say Raising Cane's, which is.
But I guess the question was it what's your fast
better
food in
than
Connecticut?
Chick-fil-A
It's
by
your
a
favorite
fucking
fast food.
mile. Listen right here, listeners. Raising
I mean,
Cane's.
hands
You can find
down.
them, Go to it.
Because there's
That's-
Bojangles. You go down south.
No, Bojangles is garbage. I was on a road trip down south, and a friend of mine in Orlando was like, "You need to go to Bojangles," and I was like, "What the fuck?" Bojangles is the name of the shitty sock puppet that our middle school guidance counselor had as like speaker power. She's like, "You can't talk if you don't have Bojangles," so like that name was already a little fucking jilted for me. But yeah, if I were to say best fast food all around, Jack in the Box.
Raising Cane's.
What Captain Scott's?
Shellfish and me don't agree.
Did you guys
But-
ever have
that's
Captain
alright.
D's? Was Captain D's ever been in anybody's life?
Local fast food though, probably Wendy's.
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 Is top tier.
Of the big trio.
Of the big- Wendy's.
Of the big chains, because it's more than just three.
We're talking about Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's. Those are the big.
Wendy's.
Of the big burger places, yeah, Wendy's. Through and through.
Burger King used to be my favorite.
And then they're trash. They changed their fries.
You're fucking right.
The fries.
Oh my God.
Okay, high five. So their fries used to be slender and thin and uber salty. And when you ordered a large, you got a million.
Are you
Now
are you fry shaming right now?
I'm fry shaming because now you order a large. First of all, it's the same size as a medium, and they're literally the same. And they fit about 7 fries, and they're thick and they're garbage. They're just Burger King changing their fries. They used to be almost my number one, and now they're the bottom of my tier.
I think at one point they also had the best burger, and that's gone.
Yeah.
That's the original flame broiled, like fucking cheap ass dollar burger, or whatever it was.
So the Whopper
good.
Jr.
Yeah,
Whopper Jr.
so
was one of
delicious.
the like. I think it's because though it had condiments and it had stuff on it. So like your cheap dollar menu or value menu burgers are like a McDouble, which is now no longer on the menu. Fuck you, McDonald's.
Oh, my Szechuan sauce, Morty.
So Szechuan sauce.
It was pretty good. I want to say.
Okay.
It was adequately.
I prefer sweet and sour still. It was okay.
It's similar.
So Burger King had the Whopper Jr. Wendy's had the Junior Bacon.
Sauce at Wendy's, though, right?
I just found out about that today. So, like you had all these things, but Wendy's kind of came through because they're fresh, never frozen bullshit. But you actually had a hamburger that had lettuce, tomato, mayo. Admittedly, you can pick or choose mayo. An onion. Like you had stuff. McDonald's was just these are two sponge burgers with something that passes as cheese.
Freshly salted, just made McDonald's fries are another godly level.
I will say my favorite French fry like fast food places is actually Dairy Queen, and I know I'm in the minority on that. I love steak frites, so like
their hot dogs are pretty good.
All right.
So flamethrower burger. And the steak frites are just like.
So I think we're consensus that Wendy's might be top
Wendy's,
tier.
I think, is probably your best pick. Wendy's.
All right.
Taco Bell is a close second for me.
I'm gonna Taco Bell. It gives me heartburn. I'm just old now. It's rough. I can't.
Taco Bell is definitely my like.
What about that combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell?
It's all the same items, though,
Yeah, can I just get meat delivered to me in a different medium, please? Ground beef. That's all Taco Bell is.
So there's a running joke that Taco Bell is just 5 ingredients of tortilla, lettuce, tomato, cheese, beef. Various structures, same 5 ingredients.
In a wine glass. Can I have? Yes.
Honestly, you could probably get like a Nachos Bel Grande in a fucking wine glass these days at the Taco Bell cantinas where they serve booze.
Final question. Have any of you ever ran for public office? And if no, would you ever? I guess we could also add, that's from Eric, and we could also ask, what position? But that wasn't asked, but we could always go in. Have you ever, I have never run for public office. I don't think I would win ever, because I just, in my book, like the opening line is like, I'm libertarian, I'm atheist, before my current relationship, when I wrote the book, my relationship for 5 years was a poly relationship. Like I just am not winning with the conservatives. Yeah. Even though I would go on the conservative ticket, yeah. They would just not like me.
They're not down with your traditional, your lack of traditional.
Just being atheist alone, I think would disqualify me. Sure. But
yes, there's
that's true. That's why many atheists just go and
let alone a poly relationship.
There's no currently elected atheist at the federal level right now.
Open. It's probably some behind closed doors.
I'm sure most of them. I mean, fucking Bernie Sanders is actually an atheist.
Right, but I was saying there's no openly atheist person at the federal level elected right now. And we're sitting in a room of atheists. Like
I guess I would want to run for maybe a town mayor. Would be kind of neat, like just for the town. Small. I wouldn't want to go big time. Couldn't take the pressure.
Run for the Willie mayor spot.
The ones that pay like a little bit of money.
Yeah, because at least I can run at something like, hey, I grew up here. I went to school here. I started a business here. The business is successful. I've employed local people from around here. I've given back to the community. I've donated to the charities around the area. So it's like I feel like I have some range recognition. My family owns an archery range in the area. It's like people know us. So like I think I might have a shot to public office in this town, but outside of this town, I think I'm a no-go.
I have never run for public office, and I would like to. One of my major concerns is I agree with most people that represent me when they're in office. We have a wonderful state senator and state rep in where I live in Willimantic. I like our senators. I like our governor and even the mayor locally. I'm not opposed to. Previously, when I was in Norwich,
you didn't vote for Linda McCain or McMahon?
Linda McMahon? No. So Blumenthal got like 80% of the state vote. Like it was, I think I actually voted for Rich Lyon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mostly
Good for you.
that 5% matters. I knew Blumenthal was
You
going to
voted
do it.
libertarian.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
I know nothing about Rich Lyon's policies, but I do
Do you know anything
appreciate-
about libertarian policies?
I do.
Then you know Rich Lyon's policies.
Okay.
It's a real blank. It is
He-
what it. If you know, look up libertarian.
He
You know.
made his own campaign website, and holy shit! I
voted
was
for
waiting
him.
for
I voted for him.
the little moving gifs to just like appear on the screen. But no, like I voted for him on it because I do, despite being a liberal. I don't know, despite as a qualifier, I do think we should have more representation, more parties in government. And the only way to do that in our current system is to push third-party candidates to the sort of 5%, 7% threshold on various state levels.
I was speaking with you. I want Jake to answer that, and I have one quick last thing I want to run past you guys.
Jake, public office, would you ever run for it? And
Or have you? I don't know if
Have you?
I have not. I would. Sure. I have no reason not to. Only because, we've probably all had this feeling. If you look around at your current representatives, there's nothing to write home about. I feel like...
I like Chris Murphy, May Flexer, and
Sure. I'm talking
Blumenthal.
about more local than that, though. I'm talking
Boo.
May Flexer's our state rep for state senator. Anyways, sorry, please continue.
My point being is that there is some degree of like knowing that people fail into office a lot, and if you have a conviction that you want to push. If I felt really passionate about an issue to the point where I felt like my action could take me there, I would start locally and move my way up for sure. But I could see myself doing it, sure. That said, I think any passion that is dishonest should not be pursued, and
It's not something you're craving.
if
I'm not craving. I'm craving
see-
this. This is fun. I
can
get
see,
wine.
I can see myself craving it, but not now though. I don't now. I know that I don't.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't really want it, if you don't really want to make a difference, then stay the fuck out of it. Like the money, there is potentially money there, but it's like the worst way to get money too. Like there's so many better tangents to make a bunch of money. That if your best tangent to make a bunch of money is to like squeeze your way through like our political system, then fuck you.
So there was a party. This is my last little thing here. I mentioned it to Travis earlier tonight. There was I guess a unity party. I could be quoting it wrong, like Unity Party 2020, something like that. That nominated the goal of their party.
Are we done with questions, by the way?
Yes, it's just a final comment. I want to get your guys' opinion on this. We'll try and do it in under 3 minutes. The goal of their party is it must be a Democrat and it must be a Republican, and they run together on the same ticket, like no questions asked. And they nominated Tulsi Gabbard for the Democrat Party and Crenshaw as the Republican Party. You know who he is? He has the patch over his eye.
Yeah.
I mean,
Interesting.
Veteran,
Other
representative.
there are other great traits about him, but just visually, if you need to know who we're talking about, the guy over the patch on his eye.
Right.
So he's the Republican ticket, and if they were to win, president and vice president would be chosen by coin flip. It would be a very casual event or ceremony, and they would work together in tandem to bring the best qualities of America. Now, I think they actually are two people who really might represent the real moderate conservative and the real moderate liberal, and could do good things. And I think that they're open to something like the intellectual dark web. I think they both have been on Joe Rogan's podcast. I think so. They're open to this exchange of ideas, whereas a lot of people aren't. And I want to know your thought on if this got on the ballot in all the states, would you vote Unity Party?
I mean, that's sort of like
in Connecticut. Yeah, sure.
yeah, sure. There's
yeah.
also like
So-
like a sort of an acceptable disruption. Like Trump for me was not an acceptable disruption vote. Like not even close.
So, Bill,
What you're talking about is an actual disruption of systematic issues we have with our political system, and that I'm totally down.
I find them as being two people that could come to a table and have a discussion and not be at each other's throats
in
at
my
all.
mind, I think you're almost dividing this conversation that I'm thinking about. How do you feel about first past the post?
With, for
voting.
So the
Ranked voting?
no, so ranked voting would be
Because
an alternative.
Maine's
to
doing
this.
Maine's doing
Maine is
that now.
doing it.
Yeah, I think that's incredible.
First past the post is whoever meets a certain threshold will just
Yeah,
automatically.
50.0001% is
Yeah,
the person.
is
Of popular? Is this a popular vote?
No, it would be the.
definitely not in electorals, obviously.
Well, it can't be popular because then you just have two cities that are just determining every election.
So most elections work in a first past the post manner, though.
Yeah, so the European Parliament is the example for it on it, and specifically, so the EU
And the EU is doing great, and they're also.
I mean, honestly, it's like
I have
the
my qualms.
third greatest, or
I have my
the EU
qualms.
collectively
The EU
is.
in the UK. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I mean, as a whole other topic for another time.
Another show.
The
Episode 4.
The Schengen zone, the Eurozone, like it's what the EU is/was. Is definitely a unique sort of.
All right, so first past the post. First past.
First past the post is the first person who meets a threshold.
Okay.
So commonly it's actually less than 51% because it's a multi-party
Sure.
group.
But
It's the first one who hits this gets the seats.
anyone who hits the level, in
Canada
which
is
no one
first
else
past post.
can, no one else, no, anyone who hits the point,
And it's
nobody
and
else
it's
can win.
and again, but what 50% of what of people's
So the
individual
difference
votes?
is the difference is you have one
That's
vote.
popular vote.
Listen, Tanner. I think you're missing. You're misunderstanding the source of this. In a first past the post, you have one vote. For however many candidates there are, you have one vote. Ranked choice voting, you put all the candidates in the order that
I
you
know
want
that.
them in.
I know about ranked choice voting. Yes.
So the point being is the opposite of the alternative to first past the post is ranked choice because everyone gets a weighted value essentially for their.
I support ranked choice. I like that.
I know you did. You're a libertarian, of course you do. You're a libertarian. You'd be a fucking moron not to. How else are you gonna get your fucking kid to have any place in it?
It'll be real interesting to see the results because this is the first, I think, full election that they are doing ranked choice for.
Maine.
Maine.
Maine
Yeah.
specifically is doing it, and I hope other states adopt it too.
It'll be interesting to see how well it goes over. I think it'll be very solid. I think that is how Susan Collins will keep her seat if she does. Because there are a lot of people in Maine who are pro Susan Collins and pro Biden. And you have these people who are just like, you know what? Like, I am pro ranked choice. I think that you should be able to go and tier out
There's
all viable options to have the most informed
There
views.
definitely
You will
no-
see a lot
So
greater
there's
third party representation too.
Just to say this out loud, like there is no Donald Trump in a ranked choice voting system. There just isn't. There might be a Bernie Sanders, honestly.
I don't know, actually. I think the Republican Party has kind of devolved into this position, compliments of Newt Gingrich, compliments of Dick Cheney, where you move into this more sort of like tribalist position.
I think there's so many people out there who would have put a Bernie over a Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, we have
The Eli's of the world, essentially.
years of so that's provided you have multiple people. If you do ranked choice voting in primaries,
But the problem is
It's
Bernie's not going to win moderates.
Biden
Biden can win moderates.
In my mind, Bernie was everyone's at worst second, right? Whereas Hillary Clinton was a lot of people's last person,
Yeah.
and so was Donald Trump.
I mean, apparently not. He won.
Donald Trump was absolutely at least 50% of people's last choice.
Well, it's not that Trump won. It's a Hillary lost. That's the difference.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's-
what I'm trying to tell you.
it's
is that,
the nomination process of selecting Donald Trump.
Is that in a ranked choice situation, most people are like, Bernie would be fine. A lot of people hated Donald Trump, and a lot of people hated Hillary Clinton. The only people who really hated Bernie Sanders were establishment Democrats. Really.
They definitely rigged it against him.
But like establishment Democrats on like a populist level aren't really that prevalent. I don't know a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people exist like on a ground level who like are like, yeah, regular centrist liberalism is the way I want to go.
No one is passionate about Tim Kaine, and yet Tim Kaine gets reelected.
Exactly.
So that invites sort of the piece
systemic
that's to it.
argument that I'm talking about. We're way over this.
All right. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you for listening and hanging out with us during this episode of Left Right Cab. We'll be back next week with more topics, more issues, and more wine, of course. Definitely more. No more longevity.
Yeah.
Longevity is.
No, not that. No.
Don't even show it. Don't put it on the camera.
Why do we even show it?
It's a little embarrassing.
Not good. But yes, thank you for listening. Again, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, right? Everything's Left Right Cab.
And go to Raising Cane's. That restaurant is not supporting us, but I looked them up in this picture, and that food is so good.
We're just pitching out a restaurant.
Yeah, I guess.
Raising Cane's, please give us some money, because I wasn't.
Or just chicken tenders. That
I
would
was
work
a
too.
vegetarian until Raising Cane's came along. Raising Cane's maybe determined that chicken is worth eating. So.
All right, then next week I'll pitch a restaurant. It's going to be Olive Garden every time. I love Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
They could solve world hunger with their unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks.
Anyways, good night.
Guys, good night. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Have a
watching.
good night. I'm Travis Pajoli, and I support court packing.
Oh my god.
Oof. I'm Jake Rutter. I support any wine but this one.
I'm Tanner Hall. I support all.